Ask EMBN, people, places, products and parts. You name it, we've got the answers. And if we haven't got the answers, you guys can help us solve it. Straight in with a big question from the Marler, who's thinking about swapping out his fork and wheel on his e-bike from 27.5 to 29. Chris, the practicalities.
Yeah, big question I want to ask is why are you swapping that fork out? Obviously, you can fit a 29-inch wheel in that front of that bike where that 27.5 plus was. So first thing I want to know is why you're swapping the fork. Is it because you're going to add a bigger travel option in there, maybe something like that? But what's the positives, negatives from?
Positives and negatives of swapping out to 29. Well, first and foremost, you've seen a lot of downhill races have swapped to 29 this year. Obviously, the increased speed of a 29-inch front wheel. It also has it has better rollover when you come to rougher terrain such as roots and rocks.
Yep.
Also, if you live in wetter climates, it's actually a 29 is a really good tyre in mud conditions.
Yeah.
On the negative side, I would be, well, there aren't any negatives. What you need to be careful about is how fitting a 29 will affect the geometry of your bike. Now, this can actually go two ways. For example, if you have a bike which bottom bracket is too high, then if you fit in a 29 and a 29 wheel, that's going to raise it even more, which means you're going to have a sky-high bottom bracket.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if the bottom bracket is too low on your bike, and there are bikes out there with the bottom bracket too low, then that's actually going to bring your bike up to a happy medium.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to do. I wouldn't quite look at it as wheel size alone. You need to think about the tires as well you're going to be using on your bike. So that's a big
Sounds like a lot of cost for marginal gains in my book.
Well, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of bike companies doing it. Obviously, Canyon have got the Spectral on, which has got a 29 front and a 27.5 rear.
Yeah.
Ghost have got a 160 bike, which has got a 29 front and a 27.5 rear. And of course, you've got the new Specialized Levos, which are 29 front and rear. Obviously, these bikes are optimized. I don't like to use that mountain bike term, but they are optimized for those wheel sizes.
Yeah,
so it all depends, the Marlow, on your particular bike. So if you're going to get back to us with your bike, we can probably give you some more in-depth detail on how it'll affect your geometry. John Corrison with a K. I'm confused. I am confused. I'm confused about what constitutes a charging cycle on my battery. My Bosch is guaranteed for 500 cycles. Does it charge from, say, 40% remaining power count as a full cycle or only as a partial cycle? Now, this varies obviously from brand to brand, Chris. I know that Shimano, for example, their batteries are good for 1,000 plus charges without any depletion in the grade of the battery. But we're talking Bosch here, right?
Yeah, so basically a cycle of a battery is from 0 to 100%. It's that whole charge, but it doesn't matter how much of that actual charge you're doing. So if you had your battery was 3/4 charged and you just charged up that last 25% to 100%, if you did that 4 times, that would account to one cycle of the battery. It is quite complicated, but basically it's that just those little, it doesn't matter if it's 70% and then charge 30%, it's any 90% and 10%, anything that adds up to 100% use of that battery is one cycle.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, John, is also make sure you charge your battery when you get back in from ride. Don't leave it on a low state of charge, because that actually degrades the battery quicker than the normal, right?
And with reference to like your warranty and stuff, I'd speak to your motor or battery supplier, the manufacturer. They'll give you a better idea. So we got this one in from Tim Voss. Steve, what size do you have on your shirts? I will buy some shirts from EMBN. We are the same build.
Tim, I'm a medium.
Sure.
Yeah. We got for a girl.
January's due date, isn't it? Now we've both run large on all of our kits, on and off the bikes. Got the race shirts, t-shirts like Steve's got on. Obviously the new winter jackets as well, to check all that stuff out in the shop.
Yeah, those new jackets are great.
Looking lovely in them.
Yeah. Oliver Hawkins is asking, thoughts about carbon wheels on eMTB, strong enough and necessary, and does it make as much difference as on a normal bike? Oliver, so first things first is you seem to suggest that a carbon wheel does make a difference. Well, it doesn't really. It actually depends on how the carbon is made and the engineering quality behind it and the construction. So if you're talking performance advantage, I would actually query whether it actually does give a performance advantage, because there's different ways of measuring performance advantage on wheels. For example, if you've got a ridiculously technical, hard, rocky descent, then you might actually be better off with an aluminium wheel with 24 spokes rather than, say, a really super stiff carbon wheel with 32 spokes, because it's gonna basically gonna give you fatigue in your arms. So I'd question whether you actually need a carbon wheel in the first place, but it depends on the manufacturing integrity to that wheel.
Yeah, and I think
foremost.
Yeah, definitely on the e-bikes, obviously can very heavy, so you got all that weight on a carbon rim. I think basically it would be strong enough sort of side to side, but they can crack and split quite easily, especially on those big rocks and things. And obviously for the outlay, I think I'd be investing that money in other parts of the bike. You know, it's a very expensive set of carbon wheels, and with very, very marginal performance gain on an e-bike for sure.
I think we're talking like you could, if you had like a 28-pound enduro bike, 160mm travel, then some carbon wheels are going to save you a few grams on that. Whereas on an e-bike, if you're talking, you know, far heavier weight, then difference weight between a carbon wheel and an alloy one is not going to make a massive amount of difference. But more than this, you can't make generalizations on material, whether aluminium or carbon. So you can have bad aluminium wheels, bad carbon wheels, and vice versa.
Yeah. Save that money, buy a spare battery, get out double the mileage on your e-bike. That's what I say.
Okay, trainee plasterer, first time dry coat Eaton has got this question for Chris, I reckon. I have just got a high bike S-Duro Hard 7. I do a mix of downhill and trails. How much could this bike take without fear of major damage, and what upgrades would you recommend?
So good bike, that nice high bike there, pretty capable frame, fork, but upgrade wise, I'd probably be going for the things that you're having troubles, you know, with. If you're sliding out in corners, getting punches, things like that, maybe look at upgrading the tyres. Contact points is general point of upgrade as well. So these saddles, your pedals, your seat, things like that is worth upgrading. But I wouldn't go spending loads of money on it. Just wait till you're better than the bike, because that bike is probably better than what you are at the minute. And as soon as you get better than the bike,
that's a bit of a general. How do you know
then
that?
You can upgrade it.
How do you know that?
I've seen them at the trails.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd say that when talking about upgrades, maybe rather than spend a load of money on new parts, maybe you should consider getting a full suspension e-bike, because the weight difference and having suspension doesn't matter so much on an e-bike as it does on a non-e-bike. Michael Davis, thanks for getting in touch, Michael. Question is, why aren't there any frame, motor, battery-only kits available? It's such a waste of money when you know you're going to swap out loads of parts to make it how you want it. Well, there's not at the moment, but I'm sure there will be in the future.
Good question, yeah, for sure. It's something I touched on a while back in the show. But I think what it basically comes down to is obviously the legalization of that whole bike. All these manufacturers that make bikes have to supply them to all the authorities, make sure they pass all the tests as first few models, and all the parts that they're built with all have to be e-bike certified. That goes from like handlebar, stem, all those contact points. If they fail on a bike, you know, it makes the manufacturers probably into pretty sticky ground. So that's one of the reasons.
I think it's also a little bit complicated because, you know, you've got the displays and you've got the shifters and all this stuff.
And connecting like those control units to the motors and stuff, and internal routing of all that cable and connections. I just don't think it's something.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it will happen, Michael, in the future. Definitely, you know, because e-mountain biking is such a young discipline, so young.
Definitely make it
with many companies. You know, some companies have only been making e-bikes for, you know, 4 or 5 years. You only look at Shimano; they didn't start making the E8000. They didn't start thinking about it until 2016.
Yeah.
So
early days. So you got this one coming in from JJ's Garage. Are you going to be making any bike front light reviews in the near future? Would be nice to have some guidance if bike mounted or headlamps is preferred when riding trails in the dark. I can answer that one for you. Anytime I go night riding, I try and combine a bar mounted light with a helmet mounted light as well, because if you get mechanical as well, if you've got that handlebar mounted light, you turn your bike upside down to work on it, you've got no light, obviously you can remove it. But the other good thing about a helmet mounted light is obviously you go where you're looking on a bike, so every time you tilt your head into a corner, that light goes round. Or if you hear a madman like, you know, crashing around in the woods beside you whilst you're riding along, if you just got that handlebar mounted light out front, you can't see what's in front of you, behind you, so it's pretty scary times.
I disagree. I totally disagree.
You disagree? What would you go for?
I disagree with you. I think it's a total myth about what you just said there about riding. I think you can do. I've raced many times in the dark, and I think you can just have a really, really good quality front light bar mounted, and it has such a wide beam. You can do whatever you want. I think this having two lights going two different directions is really, really confusing. Plus, it costs a lot of money to have two lights.
Yeah, for sure.
One good quality light, JJ, I think, is all you need. Sorry.
You wait to hear that guy crashing around in the woods. I've had it happen to me behind me. A deer running along in the hedge. Scared the living crap out of me. So you got this one coming in from IMAX. Ask EMBN, what's your opinion on kids 12 to 16 year olds that ride e-bikes?
Lucky
True. That's what I'm thinking. But it may seem weird now thinking those younger kids on e-bikes, but probably going to be the future, I think.
100%. Mountain biking hills are a massive obstacle to mountain biking.
Put me off when I was a kid for sure.
Hopefully, kids 12 to 16 will actually learn to understand that you can. It's up to you how much input you put into an e-bike. It's not. It's not a lazy sport by no means. You can have a really good workout on an e-bike, and some kids will do that. I think it's a really good transition into more e-biking, or a transition into road biking, or any kind of mountain biking. To be honest,
definitely loved it as a kid. You imagine being able to ride those trails up and down all day long instead of getting to the bottom, pushing up and back down. It's a hell of a slog.
Yeah, and there seem to be more and more brands bringing out kids e-bikes, which is a great thing.
Yeah, exciting times.
Quickfire!
Let's get into it. MVH8021. Here's a question. How does a DIY e-bike conversion compare to an all-in-one e-bike?
Depends on the DIY bike and depends on the all-in-one bike.
True. Super D Osborne, have you considered doing e-bike group test 0 to 25k drag test like Cara Motomags?
We've considered doing drag tests, but we tend to spend more of our time in the mountains on trails and single track and technical track, right?
True. It's got Develop IT1. Why is it Steve who's always sitting close to the beer pumps?
Next question. Oh, and we're out of Ask EMBN. Thanks for all your great questions. Also, it'd be good to get your feedback on some of the answers we've provided, because this is a two-way thing, really. So the more information we get, the better.
And don't forget to add those questions in the comments box below. #AskEMBN. We're going to get back to you on all those questions in every show. So don't forget to add your question in the box below.
Yeah, so if you can check out some more videos, have a look if you're still considering on buying an e-mountain bike. There's a video which we've done here on what e-mountain bike to buy.
Check out the slab video as well, see how extreme we can climb on the bikes as well. That's a real cool one if you haven't seen it.
Don't forget to get the t-shirts.
Yeah, check out the shop. Don't forget to visit next week's Ask EMBN. Get those questions in and we'll see you in the next one.
Can't wait, cannot wait.